on the subject of Naked Singularity, the fanfiction. So, I've listened to Naked Singularity twice. It's a one shot comedy. It's about Twilight writing. It's about Twilight writing erotic novels. But Twilight, being Twilight, writes them in a very scientific way. She writes them, and Rarity and Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash read them, and Twilight gets the notion or the thought process that she should do a performance, and she ends up performing her story in front of Shirley and kids, her parents, and Celestia, and it's really funny. It's a really funny story. Um, she Twilight's writing style is very scientific. She uses a lot of scientific jargon and just things of that nature, and it makes the erotic parts even funnier because of how absurd they are when a science pony writes about them. The story is really, really funny too because, like, as someone who's written stories, uh, you get certain feelings about reading your stuff to people or people reading your stuff, even in front of you. It's really you're very insecure, but Twilight just being so bold and wanting to read the stories in front of everyone because she thinks her stories are so good is already funny. Um, Rainbow Dash is actually really fun in this story because she's not annoying or a jerk or anything. She's just really into the story. Fluttershy is cute and funny. Her embarrassment and whatnot. Rarity is kind of the core of the story, other than Twilight, because she sees the the whole "this shouldn't be happening" of it. The real meat of the story is Twilight performing performing in front of everyone and getting so into it. There's a there's a train joke in there about the the Ponyville Express or whatever it is stopping in several cities. Oh my gosh, that joke is so funny. It's it's such an absurd thing to write into an erotic story, but Twilight is such a dork that she did do that. Um, it's really nice too that Celestia is so understanding even in this story, and she's the one who cheers up Twilight after she's embarrassed and everything has resolved itself. Shirley doesn't say a word to her, and her parents are even weird around her, but Celestia just reinforces her and is kind to her. Um, it's also really funny that at the end, when Rainbow Dash is asking about what prismatic means, because the character in Twilight Story, all of the characters in Twilight Story, are just Rarity and her and Rainbow Dash, and well, Rainbow Dash hasn't realized this, that she is a male in the story, and her name is Prismatic Slash, and she finally asks at the end, "What does prismatic mean?" And Twilight just goes, and she looks at Rarity, and Rarity just shakes her head. And Celestia laughs, and she's like, "It means rainbow." Like, obviously, Celestia already knows it's rainbow, but she says it, and Rainbow just is like, "Oh, oh, I feel so gross." It's really funny because you could just picture Celestia with this big grin on her face because she's like, "Yeah, you dork. You didn't know it was you." That's a really good way to end the story. I'd give it a I'd give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I think obviously one shots are judged differently than long term stories. Like I said with the cadence story. It's much easier to write a really good chapter than it is to write a really good bunch of chapters. And I would still say the cadence one I liked more, just because there was more heart in the cadence one, and this one there was more funniness, but heart is harder to write than funny, I think. So in the one-shot hierarchy, I'd give the nod to the cadence one, and then this one is second. And I'll start another ongoing top three for comedy ones, and this will be at the top because it's the only comedy one-shot I've read.